All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back here to Kicking It with Knuble. A little bit of a different timing and obviously a kind of a little different thing than what me and Mike used to do back on the Chris Maher show. But Mike, it's been a bit. Last time we talked was the watch party. Hopped on for a couple periods with me and my dad, and the Flyers. They won that night. They've won a lot of games since. Before we kind of get into that, how are you doing? And always good catching up.
Yeah, I know it's been a while and your schedule's changed or whatever. And I don't know. I guess people get busy. Life of the young guy, right? Like things always are changing, right? Trying to get your school in and do all that stuff. So it's hard. But yeah, no, it's been like you say, post Christmas, kind of pretty quiet between the holidays, and so but been on the ice a lot, just coaching and stuff. But I'll be out in Philly the end of January there for that big alumni thing. Oh yeah. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. It's about 3-4 weeks away, so it'll be fun.
Yeah. I have that on my questions here. I was going to ask you, and might as well ask you now. How excited are you for that? I know it's obviously a big event, and you played in it a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I know you kind of broke your face in that one, but is there anything you're kind of excited for here?
Yeah, it'll be really good. I hope Boston's going to bring a team, man. I saw our roster,
Yeah,
and it kind of put it out on the cards and did a kind of a cool, whatever you were talking about at one time. So I went looking for it to see the team, and somebody actually sent it to me. So it'll be fun to get back with certain guys and guys they don't know so well, and you get to know them better. But I'm looking forward to that, man. It's like a Thursday till Sunday, so it's a long, it's a long day of practice, a game, and then a Flyers game and all that. So it'll be good. They keep us busy, treat us really well, so it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's awesome, and I know the alumni. They're really tight with each other, and I think it's a really good bond and all that too. So it should be awesome, especially because for Ricky and everything else with that. And again, like you said, like you mentioned the game against Boston the next day too. But as we kind of transition here for the current Flyers right now, I think this is something that I think for me, I personally didn't expect. I know we mentioned a lot before when the season was starting. We had a lot of questions about this team and kind of how much could they continue it. And obviously defense was one thing we talked about a ton. And the Flyers, up until last night's game against Vancouver, where they did win 4-1, they were 18-11-4 out of the break. Last year, they were 11-17-7 going into the Christmas break. How much of a turnaround is, obviously it's a huge turnaround, but how much of that did you expect? And any of it did you expect? Or is this kind of just like them hot? Or is this like the Flyers kind of, they could be a good team type range of stuff like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, at the end of the day, I think right now they got it's like a nice team, right? It's just a nice team, and things have gone kind of as they would have hoped. Konecny's had a good year, and Couturier comes back and is a big help. Atkinson, the scoring's been a little bit slower, but a getting great minutes out of Sanheim. And, obviously Cam York has settled down and becoming a nice player and gotten something out of, Brink and Forrester have proven to play and, get a little tough love from Torts every once in a while, but that's life in the big leagues as a young player. And so,
right.
And then in goaltending, I mean, it's been solid, right? And you have some nice competition building there, and Larson and Hart, and Hart's the number one, but it's nice that like last night one guy can go down, Harrison goes down, and you have Hart, you can have Carter Hart come right in and pick up and finish off a win, So I think Torts should be very pleased, with this group and how they've been playing, and probably deserves to pat himself on the back a little bit to get these guys where they are. So, and then, you look at the rest of the conference and it's tight, and they're in second place today. And if they go, obviously that win last night was huge. And then, to finish in Seattle, is it Edmonton or Calgary? I don't know. I forget.
So they'll go Seattle tonight and then Calgary New Year's Eve.
Yeah. So and that's a tough swing coming out of the break, And so it's, hey, they're getting kind of what they wanted from people, and not too much more, and not less. So it's pretty satisfying, probably.
Yeah, for sure. I think Mike, I think there's a lot of guys that have contributed to it too. I mean, they're getting goals from everyone. I mean, just looking at last night, you had a goal from Zamula. That's his second of the year. Hathaway, He's chipped in at times. That's the fourth line to get a power play goal. Joel Farabee gets on the board, and then Sean Walker, who's been a pleasant surprise all year. So like the goals are coming from everybody. I think you touched on a little bit. The goaltending has been good. Urson, when Hart's been sick and kind of down a little bit and kind of been up and down and stuff like that for this year. I mean, he's come in and really solid after really probably three really tough games to start his year, and then obviously adjust into a backup role too. So I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that kind of plays into it. As for has any of this kind of surprised you so far? Like, is there anything that any specific guy or player or maybe the PK, whatever, has any of that surprised you at all? Is there anything that maybe sticks out?
No, I don't think it has. I don't think there's been it's been just guys doing their job,
Yeah.
and like doing a nice job and just kind of being as advertised. You get Garnet Hathaway coming in, 5 points in 34 games, but certainly a presence on the ice, presence in the locker room. Delorier's, they're not like big points guys, but they're great for the younger guys in the room and kind of show them how to be good pros. And, I mean, it's, you look, there's some pretty good, there's like not a lot of different bodies involved. I guess maybe that's probably the surprise. There's not a lot of, there's not a lot of guys mixed in this lineup, really. It's been a pretty consistent lineup. When you look at games played, everybody's upper double digits, and you have a few guys that have come in for 1 or 2 games or whatever, but
right.
and then it would be Mark Stahl, who's doing a bit more of a mentorship role in playing, once every other game or whatever. But for the most part, the lineup's been pretty consistent and healthy. And I know Noah Cates has been injured, right? But up to that point, he's played 21 games. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's been the only like main injury has been Cates.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Stahl. It's pretty much every switch in each game has been maybe like, like last game it was like Tippett moving up and Forrester moving down, and then like it was either Stahl or Zamula. Like that was it. And then obviously who was in net. Like they haven't had to really, change much with the lines or anything like that.
Yeah, it might be a guy or two here and there. And I mean, again, that's this, it's kudos to all the players too. Like they're doing what they brought them in to do, and how to play and what they could honestly expect from them,
Mm-hmm.
And that's contagious too. And then, the team gets good and, gets some results and everybody feels good. It's fun to go to the rink and, it gets a little easier to handle Torts, and you can, have a little thicker skin with him, listen to what he's saying instead of how he's saying it all the time. But I think another big thing is that they feel that he has their back, and I've heard a couple interviews with him this year, and he said, what he said, I don't know what we're doing sometimes on the ice, but we have balls, and as a player, you like to hear that stuff, and he's, he said, we're not done, this is not a finished product. His message is, hey guys, we got a lot of work to do. I like what we're getting through, but, and I give you a patch on the back for like having the balls to win games and just figuring out how to win. But that's probably not a long-term solution for us. So we're going to keep working on a bunch of other things. And so, I mean, I think, again, like those are teams that Torts responds to it. He's like, I need guys that will compete and fight and scratch and claw, and then we'll teach them what I need to teach them,
Right.
And I'll teach them some of the details that I like and what I feel is important and winning teams have. So I think right now, if you're sitting back and you're Danny and you're Jonesy and you're like, well, this is very pleasant surprise a little bit, like things gone really, very well to plan. Now you can take it the angle too. All right, are these wheels coming off at some point? Because things have gone pretty good actually. So, but at the end of the day, you're in such a tight playoff race. It's, you talk 2 weeks from now, 2-3 weeks from now, it could be, you could be 4 places, 5 places lower in the standings there, wondering what's going wrong, So whether it's a combination of everybody kind of being middling together and nobody really taking charge other than the Rangers in the division, then, you're kind of lumped in with the group and see who's standing after the second game.
Right. No, exactly. And I think a lot of it too, Mike, is that in just about every game, they've had a response. I mean, from anything that happens, if it's a hit, a fight, a goal, whatever, like, especially last game. I mean, if you're looking at last night, like, you're up 3-0, you get 3 goals in 2 minutes, 6 seconds, you go into the intermission, they come out and they get a goal maybe 35 seconds in, and then not even 2 minutes later, the Flyers get one right back shorthanded. Like, I mean, you still took a penalty and then you go down and score, on shorthand to break the other way. Like, it's just, and that's just one example of it. I think in my opinion, I think the one biggest thing too that's really helped has been the fact that they've at least had one special teams unit that's been good, and that's been the penalty kill. The power plays, I feel like, is always going to have its issues, just because of how it's been recently, to be honest. But I do think there are times when the power play does look good, and there is a lot of encouragement with it and things like that. But it still kind of takes its time too, and I think a lot of that can kind of ebb and flow in the season and stuff like that. And as for a couple of guys here, Mike, I'm going to ask you about 3 guys, and I want you to tell me what you think of them for kind of this year. The first one's Konechny, the second one is Couturier, and the third one's Carter Hart.
Mm-hmm. Well, Konechny, I mean, he's, outside of Philly, probably a lot of people don't really know who he is, right? He's, and he's like again, like you say, nice player, having a good season, has that kind of a blue collar work ethic and stuff like that. And he's, he's skilled and that, but, again, he's not like going to move the needle, in a bigger place, in a bigger context of things like being a star by any means, and he's a player that, the fans have come to appreciate, but certainly it looks like he played, every night he's playing hard and shooting the puck a lot. He's leading the team or second in the shots, and stuff. So, he's a shooter and he's going to, he's kind of their pulse a little bit, every night, kind of their pulse and driving the team a little bit. And if he's going to play and be super involved, and feel like the rest of the people get on board, the rest of the players get on board. And then Couturier, again, seems like his stats are right where he left off a couple years ago before his injuries and that, and helped create a nice goal right from the goal line yesterday, broke up a play in his D zone. And then, and then off you go to the races and have a great, 3-man rush off that, and with the D jumping and Walker scoring. So, and again, he's just going to be the veteran guy, and he's not the kid anymore. He's the veteran guy and just play. And he's not going to blow your doors off points wise, but he's the one the coach is like, this guy's a hockey player, right? Some coaches are like, this guy's just a hockey player.
Yeah,
play, and not dazzle you. You're not going to knock your doors off. I say skill wise and scoring wise, but the coach is like, I know what I'm getting from this guy every day. And he'll play stick. He'll play, when he doesn't play great, he's still good. Or it doesn't feel great, he's still a really good player. And when he, he's not really, if he has a bad game, it's once out of every 10 or 12. It's not going to be, it's his consistency's there. So and then Carter Hart, he's having a nice year too. And and Ersson is right with him. A couple games less played, but it's nice that Carter doesn't have to come in now and feel like, oh, I got to steal this game, or I got to be the man, or I'm going to have to play, 5 out of the next 6. So he's probably really liking that a lot, and you can focus a little bit more on your night that you're about to have instead of worrying shit, I got to get through this night and I got to play tomorrow, and all right, I'm feeling tired. I don't know if I'm going to get enough rest, and start playing tricks with yourself a little bit. So I think having a nice backup really helps you focus harder and put more attention and energy into the game you're playing instead of worrying about the one I'm going to have to play and how long, how many in a row am I going to have to go this time? God, if I don't play great, we don't have no chance of winning, And so that's probably it's probably refreshing for him in that respect, and feel like, oh yeah, it's a little more jovial, a little bit, more fun coming to the rink when you're in those situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. I think, recently I've been at practice a couple times, obviously before they went on the road, and the vibe's been very good. It's a lot of smiles. It's a lot of happy faces. They're really engaged, I think. And I think the practices are a good pace and all that too. And I think it all kind of ties into what you were saying as well. With how they've been able to kind of use 2 goaltenders, and I think everyone is just kind of flowing right now. And obviously games I think the one in Detroit are going to come where you have, a 5-goal first period and you're just like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah.
But then, you have to give them credit though. Torts is right. Yes. They have balls and, you have to give them credit for games like that, especially honestly, just to get a point out of that is impressive.
Yeah.
So
Super entertaining game. I mean, it was that was super. That was really fun to watch. We were, like I said, we had it on at the bowling alley. We were bowling, like doing something, and it was just like stopping bowling. And all the kids that were it's a couple families with kids, all hockey players. They're like stopping in their tracks. They're like, "Are you guys seeing this?" Like,
right.
It was super fun to watch. As a coach, Tort's probably pulling his hair out. But like I said, he just crossed the 1,500 barrier. He's probably had 30 games in his career where you're just like, what just happened at the end of the game. So, right. Like you say, as a fan, it's super fun to watch. As a coach, you're probably driving you crazy a little bit. But again, you talked about the response. There's a response there, and they're coming back and having a response. So that's, again, those are things you like to see. That they did, but it's super easy. It's a game. It's a game before the break. You're like, oh, we can.
It's definitely one that you can just pack it in and just say,
Yeah, we could shut this down and just move on and be done. And
right.
To fight for it, that was, like I said, they've had responses a lot of times. So as coach and as management, you're like pretty happy about that stuff.
Right. So. No, 100%. And I think there's a ton of that you can kind of pick out of it as well. Okay, next one here, Mike. We talked about the defense a lot. Before the season, we obviously had questions on certain guys who could fit in. If Sanheim could be number one defenseman, what would Stahl look like? Zamula versus the line, and if they stay healthy, whatever. I think we basically broke down all of it. What are your thoughts on the D so far? It's been one of their key things that's kind of helped them, and it's been one of the I guess key improvements that they've had this year too.
Yeah, I think kind of. Really, I mean, Sanheim's playing 25 minutes a night, and is that a great long-term thing? I know they kind of pulled him off the PP a little bit and tried to maybe pull back his minutes a little bit here and there, and probably for the long run of a season is try and keep him healthier in that respect. It would be good, So Cam York got a little tough love in the beginning of the year, up and down a little bit, but settled in. Had a nice point total. Only -3 for a young defenseman is good. I think Sean Walker has been a pleasant surprise. Maybe you didn't know what you're going to get out of him, but I think people have been if he's on the last year of his deal, he might be, he's put himself through a trade place a little bit where he's, could be an interesting part to get something else for him, down the line or whatever. But playing 20 minutes a night, Cam York playing 22, so. And then you're fitting in the young guys there, Steeler, the Mula. I mean, you're trying to get those guys in some more minutes, and well, it seems to be in and out. But again, Steeler too, not that he's a young guy, I should say, but the other guys further down on the point scoring, again, they've got great numbers. I mean, Steelers plus 14 and Mula's plus 11. I mean, you're gonna be super happy with all that. So I think that's see those guys with the younger guys who are supposed to be maybe where the holes are and the problems are, and plus 11, and guys have come in and done a really nice job. And Cam York -3, but he's playing 22 minutes a night, but that's not bad. Walker to +9, and these are things where those are probably some guys you're crossing your fingers a little bit to start the season and saying, I hope some of these guys can become NHL players this year, modified NHL players.
Right.
Well, that's a big deal too.
Yeah, no, I think to add to that too, Mike. I mean, for them having a +12 goal differential too for games, that's a huge improvement, because last year they really struggled to score goals, and not just score, but score first. Power play, again, like I mentioned earlier, there was so many issues last year, and again, from being 11, 17, and 7, and then if they were to compare it to that next game, they were 12, 17, and 7. The team last year, they won 4 straight out of the break, and I think won 6 of their next 7 games out of the break. So was just kind of how last year went too. But I digress. I mean, still, I think there's a lot of stuff there. And you mentioned Walker a little bit. Obviously, he's a guy that's been kind of rumored to be moved. Versto is another one. I'm going to ask you this: if you were in Danny Briere's shoes, and say the Flyers are still in the mix of a playoff spot, they're right where they are now, right in the middle of the pack with everybody. Just by the time the deadline comes, are you a buyer? Or are you still selling?
Oh, I know. That's a good question. And I mean, I would think I'd maybe stand pat, but it would have to be something really to fall out, and hit me in the face. I don't know if I'd really go. I wouldn't say I'm not going to make any trades, but I would say that I don't have to go out and like hunt for something right now, because if you believe in some of the younger guys, you want them to get that experience, you want them to keep improving. But if somebody's going to not force your hand, but like really like give you something that you've got to jump at, then you've got to jump at it. And I think everybody is in that situation too. But obviously they're not going to get rid of any young guys and let these guys keep developing and stuff like that. So I'd probably wait another month too. I'd give it another 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, and I'd be like, okay, well, because typically it's the end of February, right? Trade deadline. So I give it to mid-February, and then really have to make a hard decision and just see how they go in the next 6 weeks. And so, and if you got rid of something or added something, it would have to almost like be like ulterior motives, like trying to get rid of some money, or I'm going to pick this guy up to create something, to package it somewhere else, or figure it out and move something later this summer or something. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard to say, but it's too early to tell, really. I think I'd give it into February around Super Bowl, somewhere in there, and then kind of start making some decisions about are we really. Do you have a playoff caliber team here? So
no, exactly, because I think part of me looks at this too, Mike, is where will they be after the All-Star break? Because that's like a week and a half off, essentially, because that last game is the game that we mentioned earlier, the game after the alumni game, 27th, and then they're off again until February 6th.
Oh, they have an off week or something.
Yeah, because the All-Star break, and then they're just the way the schedule kind of plays out for them. So. I think it's close. I think it's maybe 11 or 9 days off, something like that. I'm not too sure, but regardless, it's still a long chunk of time. And I remember last year they, were not in a similar boat at all, but they were playing really well. They had a really good month of January, and then once they hit the All-Star break, everything just kind of fell apart from there. And that's going to be the biggest thing: is can they continue that? That's going to be the answer if they are a playoff team. I don't think they are. I don't know about you. I mean, I don't know how much this can really sway people, because this is definitely outside of the conversation of like hot start. Like this is like they are a much better team than we all thought, for sure. Because 34 games is longer than a start.
Mm-hmm.
But does any part of you think that this is a playoff team or no?
I mean, again, like I said, it's super tight in there, and
too early to tell, you think?
Yeah, I do still. I think it's early to tell. I mean, because like I said, everything's gone right? So you're just waiting for something. 82 games, you're going to have a spell of 8, 10, 12 games where just nothing's going to go right. So it's like, can you survive that? And how do you come out of that? And can you muster enough wins coming out of that to get yourself in there? So, I mean, at the end of the day, you start, if you're getting there, what was the minimum points last year? Was it like 85 or 87, whatever
85,
it is?
86, yeah.
Somewhere in there. So,
fortunately for them right now, at least a lot of their math is good.
Yeah.
I think it's around the Christmas break. I think it's 86% of teams make the playoffs if they're in one.
Yeah. We talked about the one at Thanksgiving too was a real milestone, but obviously that's a bigger. There's a lot of meat still on the bone at Thanksgiving compared to Christmas. There's a little less meat on it, right? So, if you're moving into a playoff spot, it's hard to stay there. When you play 2-point games, it's hard to get away from people, and it's hard to or get away from other teams. It's hard to climb quickly, because everybody kind of beats each other, and it's hard to really net some gain in your points. So the faster you can, 30, 35, 30. 30, 40 game mark, if you could be in the playoffs and above teams, and all you're trying to do is stay above certain teams,
Right.
And that's what's fun as a player. You start to watch standings more, watch nightly scores a little bit more, and kind of root for teams against other teams. Now you don't really care. You just worry about yourself. But, it's fun. That's a fun part of the season too, as a player. Yeah. Coming back from that break will be, I'll be either like, we're really going to put our foot on the gas here and go, or we're going to have to pull back here and try and set ourselves up for the next year and fortify the group and find a couple parts or free up money or whatever you're going to do to help the group over the summer, and then assume that some young guys can get in there in the summer. Guys, because you got to figure, can Roddy Adder come in this lineup? Can guys, a couple guys in Lehigh, can they crack this lineup?
Yeah.
And our young guys, are they going to take a step forward? Are they going to be good enough where we can absorb younger guys? And that's the $1 million question, right? So
right. Yeah, no, 100%. And that's the thing. There's so many questions that still have to be answered, and what happens at the deadline, everything else. So we'll see. It should be interesting.
Cool.
Mike, thanks again as always. I really do appreciate it. That's all I got for you. Always good, talking with you and hearing your insight, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
You got it, Chris. Thank you.
All right, Mike. I'll talk to you.